My name is Mara Ellis. I was 35 years old when my father changed the lock on the prep kitchen and told me I was lucky he had carried me this long. My older brother Ryan stood behind him with his arms crossed. His wife Tessa held my office keys between two fingers like they were dirty. "You can pick up your personal things tomorrow," Dad said. "Ryan and Tessa need the space. You're just a burden on this business now." I left without yelling. I loaded 3 boxes into my car and drove away from the diner where I had worked since I was 14. 2 days later, Tessa called me from a blocked number, whispering so hard I could barely understand her. "Please tell me you didn't call the inspector." I hadn't. The inspector already had my name on every permit that let their catering kitchen operate. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories. If you like stories where the loud people forget who signed the paperwork, stay with me. And if this sounds familiar to anyone who has ever been treated like free labor, go ahead and like the video before we get into the mess. I need to back up. Ellis Family Diner sat on Braddock Avenue in Dayton, Ohio, between a pharmacy and a dry cleaner that had been closing for 9 years. My grandfather Joseph opened it in 1984 with 8 stools, 6 booths, and a grill that smoked every time somebody ordered bacon. By the time I was old enough to wipe tables, the diner had grown into 2 things. The front room served breakfast and lunch. The back room handled catering trays, church dinners, school sports banquets, and the county fair booth every August. My father, Frank Ellis, inherited the sign when Grandpa retired. Ryan inherited the attention. Ryan was the handsome son, the one customers remembered, the one Dad put on the local news whenever a reporter needed a small business quote. He could burn pancakes twice in one shift and still walk out with 3 compliments because he smiled at the right table. I was the quiet daughter who counted the register, filled out payroll, handled supplier calls, and knew which freezer made a bad clicking sound before it died. When I was 16, I missed homecoming because the dishwasher quit during a wedding rehearsal dinner. Dad said, "Your brother already rented his tux. You understand." When I was 19, Ryan wrecked the delivery van after a 4th of July party. Dad said, "He's young. Don't make him feel worse." I worked double shifts that whole summer to cover the rental van. When I was 24, Ryan moved to Columbus for a restaurant management program that lasted 6 weeks. Dad told everyone he was expanding the family brand. I stayed in Dayton and learned sales tax filings from a woman named Phillies at the county office because Dad had ignored 3 letters. That was the pattern. Ryan was the future, I was the fix. Grandpa saw it. He never said much in front of Dad, but he noticed everything. He had arthritis in both hands and still came to the diner every Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. He would sit at booth 4 with black coffee and watch me check invoices. One morning, in 2018, he tapped a stack of supplier bills with his spoon. "You know why paper matters, Mara?" "Because people lie," I said. He smiled. "Because paper remembers when people lie." That sentence stayed with me. Grandpa died in 2019, 6 months before the pandemic nearly took the diner with him. Dad cried at the funeral like a man who had lost his anchor, then went right back to pretending he knew how the business worked. He didn't. By March 2020, the front room was closed. Catering disappeared overnight. The county fair was canceled. Dad started making decisions from panic. Ryan came home from Columbus with a beard, a chef coat, and a lot of opinions. He told Dad we needed a ghost kitchen, then a sauce line, then a meal prep subscription. Every idea came with a new logo and no spreadsheet. I handled the applications: payroll protection, rent deferral, supplier payment plans, health department extensions, utility holds. I was working from a folding table in the empty dining room, eating crackers for dinner, while Ryan went live on Instagram showing people how to make quarantine comfort meals with food I had ordered on credit. The first real crack came in February 2021. An equipment lender called about the back kitchen. The walk-in cooler, 2 convection ovens, the 60-quart mixer, the vacuum sealer, and the refrigerated van had all been financed in 2017 under a separate catering equipment note. Dad had stopped paying it. Not missed one payment, not two, 9 payments, $38,700 past due plus penalties. The lender was preparing repossession. Without that equipment, the diner could still sell eggs and coffee in the front room, but the catering side was dead. No school trays, no church dinners, no county fair booth, no hospital lunches. The money that kept the place alive came from the back kitchen, and Dad had quietly let it bleed. I asked him why. He looked at me across the prep table and said, "I didn't want to worry you." That almost made me laugh. I had been worried since I was 12. Ryan said, "It's just equipment, we'll refinance." I said, "With what credit?" He didn't answer. The same week, the health department sent a renewal notice for the commissary permit. The catering kitchen needed a named responsible operator, a sanitation certificate, updated floor plan, temperature logs, and proof of equipment ownership or lease. Dad's certificate had expired. Ryan had never taken the class. I was the only person with a current food protection manager card, because Grandpa made me get it years before. Dad sat in booth 4 with his head in his hands and said the diner was done. I should have let it be done. Instead, I did what I had always done. I fixed it. I met with an accountant named Priya Shah on March 3, 2021. She had helped Grandpa with payroll years earlier. She looked at the equipment note, the health permit, and the tax letters, then told me the cleanest option. If you want to save the catering side, you need to separate it legally from your father's mess. So I formed Oak Street Food Services, LLC. Sole owner, Mara Ellis. I paid $54,300 from my savings and a personal line of credit to settle the equipment note and transfer ownership of the back kitchen equipment to my company. I paid another $6,800 in permit fees, repairs, and inspection charges. I signed the commissary operator agreement under my name. Dad signed one document too, a usage agreement. It allowed Ellis Family Diner to use my equipment and my licensed commissary space for catering as long as I remained the responsible operator, and all work went through approved procedures. Priya made him read it out loud. Equipment owned by Oak Street Food Services, LLC, Dad read, slow and annoyed. Keep going, Priya said. Non-transferable use permission. May be revoked by owner upon unsafe operation, non-payment, false filings, or denial of access to responsible operator. He waved his hand. It's family, we don't need all this. Priya looked at me, not him. Yes, you do. That agreement saved the diner. Dad told everyone Ryan had brought the catering side back with new energy. Ryan posted photos in front of the ovens I had bought. Tessa, who was just his girlfriend then, started calling herself the brand director because she made a beige menu on Canva. I let it happen. For 3 years, I paid my personal line of credit every month, $1,140. I handled inspections. I updated temperature logs. I kept supplier accounts current. I renewed the county fair application. I trained the part-time staff. I answered emails at midnight from school principals who wanted a breakfast tray for 90 teachers by 7:00 a.m. Ryan made videos. Dad called him the face of the business. I was the woman in the office beside the mop sink. By 2024, the catering side was finally profitable again. Not rich, real. We had a contract with Mercy Ridge Hospital for staff lunches twice a week. We had 3 church accounts. We had a standing order with a senior center. The county fair booth brought in $41,000 in 10 days the year before. That was when Ryan and Tessa decided I was in the way. They got married in April 2025 in a renovated barn outside Springfield. The diner catered its own reception, which meant I worked the whole day. I packed chafing dishes in heels while Tessa's bridesmaids took pictures by the bar. During the toast, Dad stood up and said, "Ryan, you came home when this family business needed you. You saved your grandfather's diner." People clapped. I was in the kitchen scraping gravy out of a pan. My cousin Alina came back there and found me. She was a nurse, blunt in the way tired nurses get. "You heard that?" "I heard enough." "Mara, why do you let them do this?" I didn't have a good answer. Habit, maybe. Guilt. The diner had Grandpa's name on the wall. I thought protecting it meant swallowing the disrespect. Tessa moved into the business like she had bought it. She changed the front window decals. She ordered new aprons with Ryan Ellis Kitchen printed across the chest. She told the waitresses to call her Mrs. Ellis at work, which lasted 3 hours before Donna from the morning shift laughed in her face. Then she started pushing for the fair booth to become a premium street food concept. That was her phrase, premium street food concept. Ellis Family Diner had sold chicken and noodles at the Montgomery County Fair for 31 years. People waited in line for it because it tasted the same every year. Tessa wanted burrito sliders, loaded fries, and branded mason jars. I said we could test 2 new items, not change the whole menu. She told Ryan I was negative. Ryan told Dad I was afraid of growth. Dad told me, "Your brother understands marketing. You understand receipts." He meant it as an insult. I took it as a warning. In June 2025, I noticed the first strange invoice. $9,400 for content consulting, paid from the catering account to a company called Bright Table Media. The address was a UPS box. The contact email belonged to Tessa's sister. I asked Ryan about it. He said, "That's brand development." I said, "It's nearly $10,000. He leaned back in my office chair. My chair. "You have to spend money to make money." 2 weeks later, there was a $6,200 charge for custom neon signs. Then $3,800 for a photo shoot. Then $12,600 for a deposit on a food truck wrap for a truck we did not own. I froze the card. That was the day Ryan stopped pretending. He came into my office at 4:15 p.m., shut the door, and said, "You are not my boss." I said, "No, but I own the equipment you're using, and I hold the permit that lets you sell food off-site." His face changed, just a little, enough that I knew he remembered the paperwork, even if he had spent years pretending it was nothing. He said, "Dad would never let you hurt this business. Then don't make me protect it from you." He stared at me for a long time, then walked out. The next month was quiet in the way. A kitchen gets quiet before somebody drops a tray. Tessa stopped sending me menu proofs. Ryan stopped copying me on vendor emails. Dad started having closed-door meetings in the dining room after lunch. Every time I walked in, they stopped talking. On July 28th, I logged into the county vendor portal to update our fair insurance certificate. The password had been changed. I reset it through my email because the account was still mine. Inside the portal was a new application. Premium booth expansion, 2 extra fryer stations, extended late-night hours, temporary beer garden partnership with an outside vendor, estimated gross revenue $118,000. Responsible operator signature, Mara Ellis. Except I had not signed it. The uploaded signature was a flat image copied from an old inspection form. The date was wrong. The IP log showed it had been uploaded from Ryan's phone at 11:48 p.m. the night before. I downloaded everything. Application, audit log, insurance certificate, equipment list, menu, booth diagram. Then I saw the worst part. They had listed my refrigerated van as their mobile support unit and added 2 propane fryers I had never inspected. That was not just disrespectful, that was dangerous. If a fryer caught fire or food got mishandled, my name was on the permit. I called Priya first. She said, "Do not confront them without a witness." Then I called the county health department and asked for Inspector Lewis. He was the same man who had inspected the back kitchen for 3 years. Calm voice, gray mustache, never missed a missing date on a temp log. I told him, I needed to confirm whether my signature had been accepted on a fair booth expansion. He went quiet for about 10 seconds. Ms. Ellis, did you authorize that application? No. Then I need you to send that in writing. I did, one email. No drama, no accusations beyond the facts. I did not revoke the permit that day. I did not shut anyone down. I wrote that the expansion had not been authorized by me, the responsible operator, and that no new equipment could be cleared under my name without my inspection and signature. Inspector Lewis replied at 6:02 p.m. Received. Application placed under review. That should have been the warning. Ryan ignored it. On August 1st, I came in at 5:40 a.m. to start a hospital order. My key did not work in the back door. I tried it twice. The lock had been changed. Through the window, I could see my office light on. My filing cabinet was open. The framed sanitation certificate with my name on it was gone from the wall. I called Dad. He answered on the fourth ring, already angry. Why are you at the back door? Because we have 160 boxed lunches due at Mercy Ridge by 10. Ryan has it handled. You changed the lock on my licensed kitchen. Our kitchen, he snapped. I drove around to the front. The dining room was closed, chairs still upside down on tables. Dad unlocked the front door and blocked it with his body. Ryan stood behind him in a black apron. Tessa was at the counter holding my office keys. Dad said, "We need to make changes. Your attitude has been hurting this business." I looked at Tessa. Did you take my certificate off the wall? She smiled. We redecorated. Ryan said, you can pick up your personal stuff tomorrow. My equipment is in that kitchen. Dad's face went red. There it is, always paperwork, always control. Your brother is trying to build something and you keep dragging us backward. I said, the permit is in my name. Not anymore, Tessa said. That was when I knew they had done something else. Dad pointed toward the door. You are done here, Mara. Ryan and Tessa need the office. They need the kitchen. They need room to grow. You have been carried by this family long enough. Carried? Yes, he said. You're a burden on this business now. The word landed clean. Not surprising, just final. I looked at my father, then at my brother, then at the woman holding keys to equipment she did not own. Put my personal files in a box, I said. Do not touch the locked cabinet. Ryan laughed. Or what? I didn't answer. I walked out. If you've ever had to leave a place you kept alive while the people inside called you useless, you already know what that drive felt like. Put paper remembers in the comments if you know exactly why I didn't argue at that door. I drove straight to Priya's office. She had a conference room with glass walls and a printer that sounded like it was grinding rocks. For 3 hours, we pulled documents. Oak Street Food Services formation papers, equipment settlement letter, serial numbers for every oven, cooler, mixer, slicer, and prep table, the usage agreement Dad signed in 2021, proof of my personal payments, health department permit, county fair portal audit log, insurance certificate, vendor account ownership, Mercy Ridge catering contract. Then Priya found the second filing. Ryan had submitted a change of operator form to the county 2 days earlier. It named himself as the new responsible operator. My signature appeared at the bottom, again copied from an old form. Tessa had attached a letter saying I had resigned from all duties effective July 31st. The letter was written in my name. It said I was leaving due to emotional burnout and inability to support the company's modern direction. I read that sentence 3 times. Priya took the paper from me before I could crumple it. We need clean copies. They forged a resignation letter. Yes, she said, and they uploaded it to a government portal. She said it calmly because Priya understood something my family did not. Calm records beat loud stories. We sent a formal notice to the county at 6 p.m., we sent another to the insurance company. A third to Mercy Ridge Hospital, not accusing anyone, just stating that Oak Street Food Services had not authorized any operator change and would personally confirm all catering orders before fulfillment. At 5:12 p.m., Inspector Lewis called me. "Ms. Ellis, can you come to the fairgrounds Monday morning?" "Yes." "Bring your equipment list and ID." "Is the booth shut down?" "Under review," he said, "for now." That meant yes, but politely. Tessa called Saturday morning from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. "Did you call the inspector?" she said. "No hello, no apology." I confirmed I didn't sign your paperwork. Her breathing went sharp. "Do you understand what you've done? The fair booth is our launch. We have influencers coming. We have paid sponsors." "Under whose permit?" She lowered her voice. "Ryan said the permit was just a name." "Ryan says a lot of things." Frank is furious. "Frank changed the locks on a kitchen I legally operate. This is family." There it was, the word people use when they run out of facts. I said, "Family doesn't upload my signature." She hung up. That weekend, my phone lit up like a broken sign. Dad called 19 times. Ryan called 11. Mom sent one text. "Please don't destroy your grandfather's diner over hurt feelings." I stared at that message longer than I should have. My mother, Helen, had always been softer than Dad, but never safer. She didn't shout. She folded napkins, looked away, and told me to understand. When Ryan needed money, I was told to understand. When Dad forgot my birthday because Ryan had a tasting event, I was told to understand. When I worked 64 hours in 1 week and Ryan got thanked in the newspaper, I was told to understand. So I texted back one sentence. Grandpa's diner is not protected by pretending Ryan didn't forge my name. She didn't answer. Monday, August 4th, 9:00 a.m., Montgomery County Fairgrounds. The vendor office was a long beige room under the grandstand. Folding chairs, bulletin boards, a coffee pot that looked older than me. About 30 people were there because Fair Week started in 3 days and every food vendor needed final clearance. I did not know Ryan and Tessa would be there. Dad came too. Ryan wore the black chef coat with his name stitched on it. Tessa wore white linen pants to a fairground inspection, which told you everything about her relationship with actual work. Dad looked like he had not slept. When they saw me, Ryan walked straight over. "You need to fix this." I said, "Good morning." "Don't do that calm thing. This is a county office." He leaned closer. "You're jealous. That's all this is. You couldn't stand that the diner was finally moving past you." I looked at his chef coat. "Ryan, you don't know the password to the grease pickup account." His face tightened. Inspector Lewis opened the meeting at 9:17. Beside him sat a fair board clerk named Marlene Ortiz and a fire marshal named Captain Dugan. Marlene called vendors one by one. Most took 2 minutes. Insurance, permit, booth number, done. Then she said, "Ellis Family Diner and Oak Street Food Services." The room shifted, not dramatically, just enough. Food vendors know when paperwork gets interesting. Dad stood first. Ryan and Tessa stood with him. I stayed seated until Marlene looked at me. "Ms. Ellis, we need you as well." I walked to the front with my folder. Dad started talking before anyone asked him a question. "This is a family misunderstanding. My daughter has been under stress. My son Ryan is the operator now." Inspector Lewis looked at the file. "Mr. Ellis, according to our records, the responsible operator is Mara Ellis, owner of Oak Street Food Services, LLC. Ryan said, "We submitted the change." "You submitted a change request," Marlene said. "It has not been approved." Tessa smiled like she was talking to a hostess. "We uploaded Mara's resignation." Marlene turned one page. "That's part of the issue." She placed the letter on the table. Ms. Ellis, did you write or sign this resignation? No. Did you authorize the signature on the booth expansion? No. Did you approve Ryan Ellis as responsible operator for the expanded fair booth? No. Ryan laughed once, loud and ugly. This is insane. She is punishing us because Dad fired her. Captain Dugan looked up from the equipment diagram. You fired the responsible operator 3 days before final inspection. The room went quiet. Dad's mouth opened, then closed. Tessa tried to step in. She wasn't really the operator, she just handled forms. Inspector Lewis looked directly at her. Forms are the operation. I almost smiled. I didn't. Marlene turned her laptop so the screen faced the table. The portal audit shows the disputed signature was uploaded July 27th at 11:48 p.m. from a device registered to Ryan Ellis. The change of operator form was uploaded July 30th from the same device. The resignation letter was created in a PDF editor under the username Tessa Ellis. Tessa's face drained. Ryan said, "That doesn't prove anything." Priya had told me to let officials ask the questions, so I stayed quiet. Marlene clicked again. The signature image appears to match a 2023 inspection acknowledgement already on file. It was copied and pasted. Captain Dugan slid the booth diagram forward. You also added 2 propane fryers and extended service hours without fire inspection. Ryan said, "We were going to handle that on site." "No," Dugan said, "you were not." Dad put both hands on the table. "Look, what do we need to do to make this right? We can't lose the booth. This booth has been in our family for 30 years. Inspector Lewis said, "The standard booth application can remain eligible only if Ms. Ellis confirms she is operating it under the existing approved menu and equipment list." Everyone looked at me. There it was, the moment they had never imagined, not because I wanted it, because they had built it. Dad's voice lowered. "Myra. Not sweetheart, not honey, not the responsible one, just my name pulled out because he needed it." I opened my folder. "I cannot operate the Ellis Family Diner booth this year." Ryan exploded. "You selfish." "Let her finish," Inspector Lewis said. I laid the usage agreement on the table. This agreement allows Ellis Family Diner to use Oak Street Food Services equipment and commissary access as long as I remain the responsible operator and have access to the kitchen, records, and staff. On August 1st, Frank Ellis changed the locks and denied me access. Ryan Ellis and Tessa Ellis submitted documents with my signature that I did not authorize. That violates the agreement. Dad stared at the paper like it had just appeared from nowhere. I placed the equipment list beside it. The walk-in cooler, ovens, mixer, slicer, vacuum sealer, warming cabinets, and refrigerated van are owned by Oak Street Food Services, LLC. Serial numbers are attached. I am withdrawing permission for Ellis Family Diner to use them for the fair booth or any catering work until there is a signed return inventory and a new written agreement. Tessa whispered, "You can't do that." Marlene said, "She can." That was the first sound that landed like a door closing. Ryan turned to Dad. "Tell her." Dad looked at me, angry and scared. "Your grandfather would be ashamed." That one hurt. I won't pretend it didn't. But I had brought one more paper. I pulled out a copy of Grandpa's 2018 letter. Not a will, not some dramatic secret inheritance. Just a page he wrote after I renewed the sales tax account while Dad and Ryan were at a football game. Priya had found it in the old accounting folder because Grandpa had mailed it to her too. It said, "If Mara is the one keeping the books clean, listen to Mara. Frank loves the diner, but love is not a system. Ryan likes applause, but applause does not pay vendors. If this place survives, it will be because Mara knows where the keys are." I slid it across the table to Dad. He knew exactly who was protecting this business. Dad read it. His jaw moved, but no words came out. The room was silent now. Not movie silent, real silent, papers shifting, someone coughing in the back, a cooler humming in the corner. Inspector Lewis cleared his throat. Based on the disputed operator change, unapproved equipment additions, and loss of authorized commissary access, the expanded application is denied. The standard Ellis Family Diner booth is suspended unless and until a valid responsible operator and equipment access are provided. You may appeal through the Fair Board, but not before opening day. Opening day was Thursday. It was over. Tessa started crying first. "We have sponsors," she said. "We already announced the menu." Marlene said, "You announced a menu before approval." Ryan pointed at me. "She planned this." I finally looked at him. "No, I documented what you did." "There is a difference." By noon, everyone at the fairgrounds knew. Food vendors talk faster than family. By 2:00 p.m., the diner phone was ringing nonstop. By 4:30, Mercy Ridge Hospital emailed me directly asking whether their lunch contract was still valid. It was, just not through Ellis Family Diner. That part had been sitting quietly in the contract for years. Mercy Ridge contracted with Oak Street Food Services for prepared lunches, using Ellis Family Diner as the public kitchen location. The hospital did not care about Ryan's videos. They cared that the food arrived safe, labeled, and on time. On Tuesday morning, I met with their facilities director, Carmen Lee. She was 49, direct, and had no patience for family drama. "Can you fulfill the contract without the diner?" "Yes," I said. "I have access to a temporary licensed kitchen through St. Mark's Community Center starting Thursday, and my equipment can be moved by Friday." "Can you prove ownership?" I handed her the packet. She read the first page, then the last. "Good, we stay with you." That was the second door closing, cleaner than the first. Dad called me that night at 8:06. I answered because Priya said not answering sometimes made people stupider. "Myra, we need to talk." "Talk?" Ryan made mistakes. I waited. Tessa got ahead of herself. I kept waiting. But shutting down the booth hurts all of us. No, forging my signature hurt all of us. He exhaled hard. "You always have to be right." "No, Dad. I had to be accurate. You made accuracy feel like betrayal." Silence. Then he said the part I knew was coming. "Your mother is crying." I closed my eyes. For years, that sentence had worked on me. Mom is crying. Dad is stressed. Ryan feels judged. The staff needs you. Grandpa would want peace. Every sentence had the same job, put the weight back in my hands. This time, I did not pick it up. "I need the equipment returned," I said. "Priya sent the inventory appointment. Friday at 10:00 a.m. We can't run without that equipment." "I know." "You're really going to let your brother lose everything." "Ryan doesn't own what he is losing." He called me cold and hung up. Friday, August 8th, 10:00 a.m., I returned to the diner with Priya, a moving crew, and Officer Bennett from the Civil Standby Unit. Not police drama. Just a neutral officer there to keep people from turning a property inventory into a family screaming match. Dad stood by the back door. He had the new key in his hand. Mom was behind the counter, eyes swollen. Ryan was nowhere at first. Tessa sat in a booth, sunglasses on indoors. Priya handed Dad the inventory sheet. "We are here to verify and remove Oak Street Food Services property." Dad looked at the officer. "This is my daughter's way of punishing us." Officer Bennett said, "Sir, I'm only here to keep the peace." We walked into the back kitchen. Nothing had changed and everything had changed. Same tile floor, same steel prep tables, same smell of coffee, fryer oil, and bleach. My sanitation certificate was back on the wall, crooked. The locked cabinet had been opened. That was the first thing I noticed. The second was the missing tablet. I kept an inspection tablet in that cabinet. It held temperature logs, delivery photos, signed catering receipts, and staff training records. It was backed up, but the device itself was company property. "Where is the tablet?" I asked. Tessa shifted in the doorway. Ryan appeared from the dry storage room. "What tablet?" Priya wrote it down. "Missing inspection tablet, asset number OS014. Ryan rolled his eyes. "It's a cheap tablet." I said, "It has health records on it." That got Officer Bennett's attention. Tessa said, "I put it somewhere safe." "Where?" She folded her arms. "I don't remember." Priya looked at me. "We'll include it in the demand letter." Then the moving crew started tagging equipment: walk-in compressor, mixer, slicer, vacuum sealer, 2 hot boxes, 3 speed racks, label printer, the refrigerated van keys. Every tag matched a serial number. Dad watched like each sticker was a personal insult. At 11:22 a.m., Ryan lost control. "You think you're better than us because you can print forms." I was standing by the 60-quart mixer Grandpa taught me to clean when I was 15. "No," I said. "I think I paid for the mixer." "You wouldn't have anything without this family." "Ryan, for 10 years, this family wouldn't have passed an inspection without me." His face twisted. "You were always jealous." That word again, jealous. It was easier for him than grateful, easier than honest. I looked at Officer Bennett, then at Priya, then back at Ryan. I kept a spreadsheet for that too. Priya opened the blue folder. Not dramatic, just efficient. Inside were the payments nobody had wanted to see. My $54,300 equipment settlement, $6,800 permit repairs, $41,040 in personal loan payments, $12,700 in supplier advances I made when Dad's account was short, $4,600 for the van transmission, $1,900 for the grease trap emergency on New Year's Day. Total, $121,340. Not including hours, not including missed holidays, not including the years I gave them because I thought that was what daughters did. Dad stared at the total. Mom covered her mouth. Ryan said, "You kept a bill against your own family." "No," I said. "I kept records of what my family took while calling me a burden." Tessa stood up from the booth. "This is why nobody likes working with you." That was when Donna from morning shift spoke from the dining room. I hadn't seen her come in. She had worked at the diner 22 years and had the kind of voice that could stop a busboy from across the room. "That's not true." Everyone turned. Donna held a paper bag in one hand and her time card in the other. "Mara is the reason we got paid during the shutdown. Mara is the reason the walk-in got fixed. Mara is the reason your fair booth passed every year." Ryan snapped, "Stay out of this." Donna looked at him like he was a dirty pan. "I have stayed out of it for years. That's my mistake." Then she handed me the paper bag. Inside was the missing tablet. "Tessa put it in the storage closet behind the holiday decorations yesterday," Donna said. "I thought you might need it." Tessa went pale. I turned the tablet on, battery at 18%, no passcode changed. On the screen was an open notes app. Tessa had typed a list. Delete old temp logs. Change operator name. Ask Ryan about Mara's signature. Post about soft opening after fair approval. Officer Bennett sighed, like a man who had seen too many people write down their own bad decisions. Priya photographed the screen. Dad sat down in the nearest booth. For the first time, he looked old to me. Not harmless, just old. The moving crew finished at 2:40 p.m. The back kitchen looked hollow. The front diner still had its grill, coffee machine, tables, and sign. Dad could still serve breakfast if he got his own permits straight. I had not destroyed the diner. I had removed what was mine. Before I left, Dad followed me to the back door. Myra. I stopped. He held out the new key, the one he had used to lock me out. Take it, he said. I looked at it in his palm. That key doesn't open anything I need anymore. I walked to the refrigerated van, got in, and drove my own equipment to St. Mark's Community Center. The next 3 weeks were ugly. Ryan posted online that I had stolen from the family business. Tessa posted a black square with the words, "Betrayal comes from people closest to you." Dad told relatives I had let lawyers poison me. Then the fair opened, without Ellis Family Diner for the first time in 31 years. People asked questions. They asked Dad, they asked Ryan, they asked Donna. They asked my cousin Alina, who had never been good at lying for peace. The truth moved through the family in pieces. First, the booth had not passed because Ryan submitted unapproved equipment. Then, the signature was not mine. Then, I owned the back kitchen equipment. Then, Dad had signed the agreement years ago. Then, the Mercy Ridge contract was staying with me. By the time my Aunt Carol called, she already knew enough to be angry in the right direction. Your father said you were trying to ruin the diner. I'm not. Did Ryan forge your signature? Yes. She was quiet. Your grandfather would have thrown a pan at him. That was the first time I laughed in weeks. On September 2nd, the county issued its final letter. The expanded fair application was denied. Ryan and Tessa were barred from submitting food vendor applications for 1 year without an approved responsible operator. The copied signature incident was referred to the county prosecutor for review, though Priya warned me that government referrals moved slowly and not every ugly thing became a fast criminal case. I was fine with slow. Slow had always worked for me. On September 9th, Mercy Ridge signed a direct 1-year contract with Oak Street Food Services, $96,000 base value, with renewal options. Carmen Lee slid the contract across the table and said, "We like boring vendors." I said, "I'm very boring." Good. That contract was my clean receipt. Not revenge, not a screaming match. A purchase order with my company name on it, signed by someone who cared whether I could do the work. 2 days later, Dad came to St. Mark's. He looked smaller without the diner around him. No counter to stand behind. No sign with his last name over his head. Just a man in a plaid shirt holding a folder. "Can we talk?" I almost said no. But St. Mark's had a lobby with cameras, and I had learned to choose rooms carefully. We sat at a small table by a vending machine. Dad opened the folder. Inside was the usage agreement from 2021, his copy, the one he had pretended did not matter. "I read it," he said. "You read it when you signed it." He nodded once. "No," I said the words, "I didn't read it." That was probably the most honest thing he had said to me in years. "Ryan and Tessa are leaving the diner," he said. "For good. For now." I waited. "The front room is still open. Breakfast only. Donna stayed. Your mother is helping. We applied for our own smaller permit." "Good." He looked surprised by that. "You mean that?" I never wanted the front room to fail. His eyes got wet, but I did not move toward him. "I called you a burden," he said. "Yes." "You were carrying us." "Yes." He looked down at the folder. "I don't know how to fix that." "You don't fix it with one conversation." He nodded. Then he pushed a small envelope across the table. Inside was a cashier's check for $8,000. Memo line, partial repayment. "It's not enough," he said. "No. But it's a start." I put the check back in the envelope. "I'll deposit it as repayment against documented expenses. Priya will send a balance statement." He flinched at the word documented, but he did not argue. Then he pulled out one more thing. A red plastic key tag, faded, scratched. Grandpa had used it for the old equipment cage before we ever had electronic locks. The label said back room in his block handwriting. Donna found this in the register drawer, Dad said. Your grandfather's. I took it. For a second, I was 14 again, standing beside Grandpa while he showed me where the spare towels went and how to check the cooler temperature. Dad said, he trusted you with the keys before I did. I closed my hand around the tag. Yes, I said, he did. That was the closest we came to peace that day. Ryan texted me once in October. You happy now? I wrote back. I'm paid now. Then I blocked him. Tessa's brand page disappeared after the county letter became public record. Bright Table Media refunded $3,000 after Priya sent a demand letter to her sister. The rest would take longer. It always does. Mom started calling every Sunday at 5:00. At first, I didn't answer. Then I answered for 5 minutes, then 10. She apologized in small pieces, never all at once. I accepted the pieces as pieces. I stopped trying to turn them into a whole mother. By December, Oak Street Food Services had 3 steady contracts: Mercy Ridge, St. Mark's Senior Lunches, and a private school that needed allergy-labeled boxed meals twice a month. I hired Donna as kitchen manager for $4 more an hour than Dad had paid her. She cried in the walk-in on her first day, then told me never to mention it again. I didn't. On January 15th, I signed a lease for a small commercial kitchen on Keough Street. Not fancy. 2 prep rooms, a loading door, enough power for my ovens, and a landlord who only cared that the rent cleared. When I opened the door for the first time, the space was empty. No family photos, no old sign, no Ryan in a chef coat, no Dad telling me I was dramatic, just tile, steel, and quiet. I hung Grandpa's red key tag on a hook by the office door. Not because it opened that kitchen, it didn't. Because it reminded me, who had known I should have keys. The first delivery from that kitchen went out February 3rd at 6:30 a.m. Mercy Ridge lunches. Turkey wraps, pasta salad, apples, labels straight, temperatures logged. The driver pulled away at 6:52. At 7:10, Carmen Lee emailed one sentence. Clean delivery, thank you. I printed it. It is in the same folder as the usage agreement, the county denial letter, the Mercy Ridge contract, the $8,000 cashier's check, and Grandpa's note about listening to me. That is my ending receipt. Not my father begging, not my brother losing face, not Tessa crying in a county office because her fake signature had an audit log. The receipt is a kitchen that runs because I am allowed to run it, a contract in my company's name, a key on my wall that nobody can take back with a changed lock. So if you are the one holding everything together while someone else takes the bow, hear me clearly. Save the emails. Keep the invoices. Download the audit logs. Take pictures of the serial numbers. Keep your certificates current. Do not let people shame you for being careful when careful is the only reason they are still standing. Family can ask for help. Family does not get to erase the person helping. My father called me a burden and locked me out of the kitchen I kept alive. 5 months later, his diner was serving breakfast only. My brother was banned from the fair booth, and the hospital contract had my signature on the bottom. Paper remembered. And this time, so did I.